Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Thank you very much for coming to this session on Justice Without Exception, U.S. Foreign Policy in the Middle East. My name is Kristen Shremsky. I'm the Director of Media and Communications for American Muslims for Palestine, a national grassroots organization dedicated to educating the American public about issues related to Palestine. On behalf of AMP, I would very much like to thank MAS-ICNA for giving us the opportunity to bring the Palestine track to their convention this year. We have a lot of great things in store for today. We have a session at 3:30, which I'll talk about a little bit later, and we have entertainment tonight at 9 p.m. Now, without further ado, we don't have much time, so we're going to move on. I'd like to introduce a person that we look to very much and very frequently to lead us in the cause for Palestine. He is the founder and editor of Al Mizan newspaper, a national Arabic language newspaper published in the United States. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Osamah Abuirshaid.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyid al-Mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. 2 years to the Obama's presidency, I think we are in a better position to re-examine and to try to understand the U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, and in particular, the one that relates to the Arab-Israeli conflict. I'm using the Obama's presidency as a reference point because, one, it is current, it is something that we're still living. Two, is because Obama, the candidate, and Obama, the president, came with unprecedented discourse in relation to the struggle and in relation to the conflict in the Middle East. Obama, the candidate, sought from day one to assure everyone that he is going to put the Middle East on the top of his agenda. He spoke about the right of Palestinians to have a state of their own. He was attacked and criticized because of this. And he went further than that when he went and delivered a speech before AIPAC in June 2008, just a few months before he was elected to be a president. He went there and he spoke of the creation of a Palestinian state as being in the national interests of the United States of America. And he spoke of the creation of a Palestinian state as an Israeli interest for Israel itself. This wasn't the mainstream until that time. Bush, Clinton, Bush Jr., Bush Clinton, and Bush Sr. all spoke of a Palestinian state, but no one of them really defined a Palestinian state. None of them really tried to force the notion through. But Obama came determined, and the way he framed it, that he put it within the American national interest, and to try to appeal to the Israeli politicians, he tried to put it in the Israeli best interest as well. Now, after Obama became a president, the first thing that he starts with his presidency, that he calls leaders in the region. He started with Mahmoud Abbas, the chairman of the PLO, and then he called the Egyptian president, then the king of Jordan, then he called Ehud Olmert, the Israeli prime minister at the time. The next day he appointed George Mitchell. Then, few months later, in Cairo, he delivered his much anticipated speech to the Muslim world, where he spoke about the Palestinian issue again and the conflict in the region. One of the things that was new in Obama's speech or in the American discourse, that Obama equated the grievances of the Palestinian people with the grievances of the Jewish people. Now, whether you agree or disagree, now I'm not trying to convince you that this was something positive or negative. I'm talking about something unprecedented within the American context, within the American policy towards the Middle East, the way that the American policy handled the conflict in the region. So for a U.S. president to come and to equate the grievances, the pains and the aspirations of the Palestinian people, the victims, with the Israeli people and with the Jewish people that are revered in this country, or at least within the politicians of this country. This was something new. Then Obama started by pressing Israel and pressuring Israel to freeze the settlements. But this did not continue. We know how it started, with this enthusiasm that the president brought with him, pressuring Israel to freeze settlements. Then he started retreating. It ended up with offering Israel a lavish deal if they would accept to extend the freeze for 90 days, to give them 20 F-35 fighter jets that cost about $3 billion, that will cost the American taxpayer $33 million every month. And he offered them, just to freeze, to extend the freeze of the settlements, he offered them that he will veto any attempt by the Palestinians to go to the UN and to the Security Council to try to get a recognition of a Palestinian state, as he promised that he would never ask Israel to extend or for another freeze after the first 90 days. So this is the president who started with an adamant position that Israel must bring to a halt its expansion of settlements, to a position where he's trying to bribe Israel, and the Israeli government that they defied him the first time, defied him when it came to this lavish deal that they rejected from the president. Why did the president move along from one position where he was so hard on Israel, where he snubbed the Israeli Prime Minister 2 times when he came to the White House in March this year, and I think sometime in January, the beginning of this year too, when it was a tense, or they were both tense meetings between Obama and Netanyahu. How did the president move from that position to the position where he's trying to bribe Israel now, and he's trying to please Israel? Now here comes some factors that we need to understand. Number one, the first reason that comes into mind is the influence of the Israeli lobby. We understand how influential is this lobby. We understand how connected is this lobby, how rooted is this lobby in Washington. But this by itself cannot explain the entire picture of the situation. Why is this taking place? Now we'll come to another factor, which is the way the establishment in this country itself is established, is organized. When we talk about the establishment, it's not the White House. It's not only the administration, they're part of the establishment. And it's not only Congress, it is part of the establishment. But when we speak about the establishment, we talk about the administration, the Congress, and we speak about the media and different factors that all contribute to this establishment and to the existence of this establishment. And this establishment, the way it is organized, the way it's put together, is committed and determined to Israel as much as it is committed and determined to America. Right after the midterm elections, just to give you a proof, right after the midterm elections, some political analysts in this country spoke of the Republican sweeping victory in the House as Bibi's win, or baby's win, Benjamin Netanyahu's win in the American elections. And to testify to the accuracy of this notion, Rick Cantor, who is the majority whip now, or will become the majority whip, the Republican whip, spoke of that the Israeli security is synonymous with the American security. And he said that we will demand to remove Israel from the foreign assistance budget and to put it in a different separate budget, because we want to zero out the money, the aid that we give to unfriendly countries like Egypt, for example. So we want to zero